Most people think they know what love looks like. Flowers, sweet words, big romantic gestures. But what if the truest form of love is the kind the world rarely notices? What if the signs that matter most are the ones so quiet, so consistent, so deeply rooted in who a man is, that almost no one talks about them? Today I want to take you into a space where love isn't loud, but it's unmistakably real. Because a man's love, true love, is often hidden in the subtle behaviors that don't make it onto social media. The moments he doesn't brag about, and the choices he makes when no one is watching. And here's the truth. A man reveals his deepest love, not in the moments he feels passionate, but in the moments he feels responsible. This video isn't about cliches or surface level signals. It's about decoding the emotional blueprint of how a man commits, protects, invests, and chooses you in ways he might never say out loud. By the end of this, you'll understand the signs that separate temporary affection from a man who loves you with presence, stability, and intention. Let's get into the truth. No one is teaching, but everyone needs to hear. When it comes to love, men and women often speak the same language with completely different accents. Not because men are less emotional, but because they're taught, often from childhood, to express emotion in ways that feel safer, more controlled, and less vulnerable. So when a man loves deeply, he rarely leads with words. He leads with behavior, responsibility, consistency, and the desire to create stability for the person he cares about. Men are conditioned to believe that love should be proven, not described. This is why a man may struggle to say, "I love you," but he'll fix things before you even ask. He might not talk for hours about how he feels, but he'll remember what stresses you out, what brings you comfort, and what makes you feel safe. To him, love is not a performance, it's a role he steps into. Another reason men show love differently is that vulnerability carries a different weight for them. Many men are afraid that expressing too much emotion might make them seem weak or out of control. So instead of opening up with raw feelings, they demonstrate love through protection, reliability, and quiet loyalty. They're more likely to show love in the way they plan, the way they prioritize, and the way they adjust their behavior to make space for you in their life. And here's something important. A man's love often grows through actions before emotions fully catch up. When he invests his time, his effort, his energy, he's not just showing affection, he's building trust with every choice he makes. Understanding this difference isn't about excusing emotional distance. It's about recognizing how men are wired to love in ways that are less visible, but often more meaningful. When you learn to see these subtle signals, you'll notice that a man's love speaks quietly, but it speaks powerfully. Sometimes the most powerful expressions of love are the ones that slip under the radar. Those small, almost unremarkable moments that don't look dramatic, but speak volumes about what a man feels. These are the gestures that don't get posted, don't get praised, and don't get performed. They just happen naturally, because his heart is involved even when he doesn't say it out loud. One of the clearest small actions is when he pays attention to the details you think no one notices. He remembers how you like your coffee, the way you get quiet when something is bothering you, the little routines that make you feel grounded. These aren't grand acts of romance. They're signs he's genuinely tuned into your world. When a man loves you, your comfort becomes part of his internal checklist. Another overlooked sign is how he adjusts himself, not to change who he is, but to meet you where you need support. He softens his tone when he sees you're overwhelmed. He takes on tasks you're too exhausted to manage. He tries to lighten your load, even in small ways, because easing your stress is his way of showing care. It's not about obligation, it's about desire. He wants to make life easier for you, even if it means less ease for him. Men also show big feelings through quiet consistency. He checks in, even on busy days. He follows through on the things he says. He makes time, not excuses. This isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up in a way that proves you matter to him. Little patterns become emotional evidence. There's also the protective instinct, not in a controlling or overbearing way, but in subtle acts of safeguarding. He walks on the outside of the sidewalk, makes sure you get home safely, notices when something feels off. These small moments of care reveal something deeper. He's thinking about your well-being when you're not thinking about his. And perhaps one of the most meaningful small actions is when he listens, not just hearing what you say, but absorbing it, responding thoughtfully, and remembering it later. That kind of attention is rare, and it's a quiet declaration of love, far louder than any spoken line. These small gestures might seem insignificant on their own, but together they form a pattern that can only exist when a man's feelings run deep. They're the whispers of love that say more than any shout ever could. The strongest indicator that a man truly loves you isn't the romance, the passion, or even the commitment. It's the level of emotional safety he creates when you're with him. Emotional safety is that deep, steady feeling of being able to be your full, unfiltered self without fear of judgment, rejection, or ridicule. And when a man loves you in a genuine, grounded way, he naturally builds that space around you, even if he doesn't realize he's doing it. You can recognize emotional safety in the way he responds to your vulnerability. Instead of shutting down or becoming defensive when you express fears, insecurities, or doubts, he leans in. He doesn't try to rush you to get over it or minimize your feelings. He stays present, even when the emotions aren't convenient or easy. That presence, consistent, steady, patient, is the clearest sign that he values your emotional world as much as his own. Another powerful element of emotional safety is predictability. Not boring predictability, but the kind where his reactions don't swing wildly. You don't have to guess whether he'll be gentle one day and distant the next. He creates a stable emotional environment where you can relax instead of walking on eggshells. That sense of calm is an underrated form of love, and it's often the foundation for everything else in a relationship. A man who gives you emotional safety also listens in a way that makes you feel heard rather than corrected. He doesn't weaponize your words later. He doesn't use your vulnerability against you. Instead, he treats what you share as something valuable, something he wants to protect. This makes you feel safe, opening up again and again. Another sign he respects your boundaries without making you feel guilty for them. Whether it's needing time alone, taking space to process, or saying you're not ready for something yet, he honors it. A man who loves you will never push past your emotional limits just to get what he wants in the moment. But the most defining aspect of emotional safety is this: you can be imperfect around him. You can have messy feelings, complicated thoughts, and human moments, and he doesn't love you any less. He still shows up. He still chooses you. He still remains grounded. When a man provides this level of emotional safety, it's not just a sign of love, it's a sign of emotional maturity, loyalty, and long-term intention. It's the quiet proof that his heart is a place where yours can rest. Commitment isn't always announced with dramatic gestures or long declarations. More often, it shows up quietly, woven into a man's choices, his priorities, and the way he integrates you into his life. These signals can be subtle, but they're unmistakable once you know what to look for. And when a man genuinely sees a future with you, his behavior will reflect it long before he ever says the words out loud. One of the strongest commitment signals is when he starts planning ahead with you in mind. Not just next weekend or the next holiday, but the small and big picture moments where he naturally includes you. He might ask your opinion on decisions that don't directly involve you, talk about future goals that intertwine with your life, or show excitement about experiences he wants to share months from now. This isn't random, it's a clear sign that he imagines you beside him. Another sign is emotional follow-through. He doesn't disappear after disagreements. He doesn't take space as an escape route. Instead, he returns with solutions, not avoidance. A committed man values repair over winning the argument. He invests in fixing misunderstandings, because the relationship matters more to him than being right. You'll also notice commitment in the way he introduces you into his world. Not as an accessory, not for show, but with genuine pride. Whether it's family, close friends, or the people who influence his life, he wants them to know who you are. He wants the important parts of his life to connect with the important parts of yours. A man who sees you in his future doesn't keep you in a separate category. Consistency is another powerful indicator. Commitment shows up in reliability. He keeps promises, shows up when he says he will, and remains steady even when life is chaotic. You don't have to chase him, decode mixed messages, or wonder what his intentions are. His actions remove confusion, instead of creating it. Perhaps the most significant commitment signal is that he chooses you in the small, ordinary moments, not just the romantic ones. He considers your feelings when making decisions. He adapts, grows, and adjusts, because the relationship matters. He doesn't treat you as an option. He treats you as a priority. These signals aren't loud. They're not dramatic. They're not flashy, but they are real. And when a man displays them consistently, they reveal a depth of commitment that deserves to be recognized and valued. Not every man is comfortable expressing love verbally, but that doesn't mean the love isn't there. In fact, many men communicate affection more powerfully through actions than through language. Their version of I love you is often woven into the way they behave, protect, support, and show up. When you know how to read these signals, you start to understand just how deeply a man can care without saying a single word. One of the clearest forms of nonverbal love is presence. A man who cares doesn't vanish when things get heavy. He stays. He might not have the perfect advice or emotional vocabulary, but he'll sit with you in silence, let you lean on him, or simply be close so you don't feel alone. His company becomes its own form of comfort, a quiet message that he's not going anywhere. Men also express love through problem solving, not because they want to take control, but because helping is their way of saying, your challenges matter to me. He'll look for solutions, offer support, or step in to lighten the burden, sometimes before you even realize you need it. To him, taking action is the most natural expression of care. Another powerful nonverbal signal is the way he prioritizes you. When he adjusts his schedule, makes time even on busy days, or rearranges plans to be there for you, he's communicating commitment without saying it out loud. Attention is currency, and he spends it generously on you. You'll also notice love in his protective instincts, not in a controlling sense, but in the subtle ways he looks out for your comfort and safety. He pays attention to what makes you uneasy. He steps in when something feels off, and he quietly ensures you're okay. These small, almost automatic actions show that he's thinking about you even when he's not speaking. And then there's physical communication. A hand on your back, a lingering hug, a gentle touch at the right moment. These gestures aren't random. They're grounding, reassuring, and intentional. They say I'm here with you without requiring a sentence. Lastly, he communicates love through effort. Not grand gestures, but consistent, everyday efforts, checking in, remembering things you said, following through, showing care in the rhythm of daily life. When you piece these signals together, they form a language all their own. A language that doesn't rely on words, but speaks directly to the heart. Some of the deepest acts of devotion are the ones that slip right past the eye because they aren't dramatic, flashy, or meant to be noticed. They don't look like movie scenes. They look like life. And yet these are the actions that reveal a man's true heart, because they come from intention rather than performance. When a man is devoted, his love shows up in ways most people never think to label as devotion. One of the most overlooked acts is when he pays attention to what stays the same about you, your values, your dreams, your fears, and he adapts his behavior so he can be someone who supports those things. He doesn't try to change who you are. He grows in ways that allow both of you to move forward together. Quiet growth is one of the purest forms of devotion, because no one asks him to do it, he chooses it. Another subtle form of devotion is emotional patience. He doesn't rush your healing, your process, or your pace. He recognizes that you're human, with layers and history and complexity, and he meets you where you are without frustration. That kind of patience comes from a place of genuine care, not obligation. Devotion isn't loud, it's steady. You'll also see devotion in the way he protects your peace, sometimes even more than his own. He avoids unnecessary conflict, not out of fear, but because he values harmony. He chooses his words with intention. He thinks before reacting. And when he realizes he's hurt you, even unintentionally, he takes accountability without defensiveness. A devoted man doesn't protect his ego. He protects the connection. There's devotion too in the sacrifices that seem small to him, but mean everything to you. Giving up comfort to ensure yours. Adjusting habits because he knows they affect you. Showing up after the longest day, simply because he doesn't want you to feel alone. These are not the kinds of sacrifices he talks about. They're the ones he just does. And one of the most overlooked forms of devotion is when he chooses transparency over convenience. He keeps you in the loop. He communicates even when it's difficult. He doesn't hide, withdraw, or create uncertainty. Instead, he builds trust little by little, moment by moment. Devotion isn't always loud, dramatic, or poetic. Sometimes it's a quiet consistency, a willingness to try, a choice to show up again and again. And if you pay attention, those understated moments reveal a love that runs deeper than most people ever recognize. Real love isn't something that shows up only on special occasions or in perfectly curated moments. It reveals itself in the ordinary, unfiltered parts of life. The mornings when nothing is glamorous, the evenings when you're both exhausted, the quiet spaces where routine replaces excitement. If you want to understand what genuine love looks like, you have to watch how someone loves when life is simple, repetitive, and real. You see real love in the way he chooses kindness even when the day hasn't been kind to him. He may be tired, stressed, or distracted, but he still makes the effort to greet you warmly, check on you, or bring calm into the room instead of chaos. That small, steady choice to show care even when it's inconvenient is a true mark of emotional maturity. You also see real love in the way he makes your comfort a priority in the smallest ways. Adjusting the thermostat because he knows you're cold, bringing you your favorite snack without being asked, making space for your habits and quirks without treating them as an annoyance. These everyday gestures are far more revealing than any grand romantic moment. Another sign is how he fits you into his daily rhythm, not as an obligation but as a natural part of his life. He updates you on his day even when nothing big happened. He checks in because he wants you connected to his world. He makes time, not excuses. Real love doesn't wait for perfect moments. It finds moments. You can also recognize real love in how he reacts to your off days. When you're overwhelmed, frustrated, or simply not at your best, he doesn't withdraw or take it personally. Instead, he stays patient, offers support, or just gives you the space you need without guilt. Understanding your emotional landscape becomes second nature to him. One of the purest signs appears in shared routines, the grocery runs, the errands, the chores. He contributes because he sees your well-being as shared responsibility, not your burden. Love becomes teamwork, not imbalance. And ultimately, real love in daily life is shown through consistency. Not perfection, not intensity, but the dependable presence of someone who chooses you again and again through 1,000 ordinary moments. It's the kind of love that grows quietly, strengthens over time, and lasts because it's built on the foundation of everyday devotion, not just extraordinary occasions. When you strip away the noise, the expectations, and the idealized versions of love we're taught to chase, what remains is something far more genuine and far more valuable: the everyday actions that reveal a person's true intentions. Real love isn't something you measure by how loudly someone speaks it, but by how consistently they show it. And as you've seen throughout this video, a man's love often speaks in ways that don't draw attention to themselves, but they carry real weight. By now, I hope you recognize that love isn't proven in perfection, but in presence. It's not determined by grand declarations, but by the way someone treats you when life gets messy, when things feel uncertain, or when emotions get complicated. A man who truly loves you isn't flawless, but he is accountable. He shows up, again and again, with a willingness to learn you, grow with you, and choose the relationship, even on the days it's challenging. As you move forward, here's the most important piece of advice. Pay attention to patterns, not promises. Words are easy. Consistency is earned. The person who is truly invested in you will make choices that align with their affection, not just occasionally, but repeatedly. Look for reliability, kindness, emotional safety, curiosity about who you are, and a willingness to repair rather than retreat. These are the pillars of a healthy, lasting connection. Another essential piece of advice is to understand your own needs clearly. When you know what makes you feel loved, valued, and respected, you can recognize more quickly who is capable of giving you that kind of love. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters that protect the quality of your heart. When you honor them, you attract relationships built on mutual respect rather than imbalance. And finally, remember that real love is a partnership, not a rescue mission. You're not looking for someone to fix your life or complete you. You're looking for someone who complements you, supports you, and walks beside you. Love thrives when both people take responsibility for their emotional growth and communication, So as you take these insights into your relationships, whether you're dating, committed, or simply learning for the future, hold on to this truth. Love is quiet, steady, and intentional. When you learn to recognize it in its real form, you never again settle for its imitation.